others will join us as we progress. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for dialing in. This is the client launch of our new modular buildings framework. It's the second iteration of this framework and is much better, has a more diverse offering. We learned got some feedback from our first framework, modular buildings framework, and we've implemented that in the second one. So today I'm going to do an introduction. My name's Mary. I'm the Regional Director for Southwest Procurement Alliance, the regional arm of LHC, Southwest Regional Arm. And then we've got Elliott are going to be doing a presentation, and MAR about their products and about the future and some of the sort of key issues around modular. So it's not a hard sell event. It's a thought leadership event, so I hope you enjoy it. So just to go on, an introduction overview of the framework from me. Then we're going to have Simon and Neil talking about healthcare opportunities in particular from Elliott's, and then we're going to have Brian from MAR talking about some of the buildings that they've been doing and developing, both with us and with other partners. But they're going to be talking about a very exciting project called the Boho project in Middlesbrough, which looks really fantastic and futuristic. But anyway, I'll kick off just a bit of an introduction. You get 10 minutes from me and then 20 minutes from Simon, Neil, and from Ryan. So we'll kick off now. So anyway, for those of you that don't know, we are, as I say, the Southwest Regional Arm of LHC, which covers the whole of the country and has various regional brands. But we have our Centre of Excellence in London, in Uxbridge, and they do all our main procurement. And we are very much the client facing and appointed company facing arm of the Southwest and work within the Southwest context. In terms of clients within the Southwest, we have a fairly broad range, and this was the client sector split at the end of March 2021. So we have registered housing providers, bottom left, local authorities, both the housing bit and the non-housing bit, but we have a very good spread of NHS, education, Almos, Blue Light and other. And in terms of modular buildings, we actually have provided modular buildings to clients in local authorities, Blue Light, education and the NHS. So we've got ongoing projects actually with them from our old framework and lots of interest going forward. We do have an associate membership scheme, but you don't have to be a member to use our frameworks. But if you are a member and sign up, then you get an opportunity to nominate a project for one of our community benefit funds. We offer a community benefit fund, small grant scheme of up to £1,000 for a project, for a charity of a client's nomination. And we've done some fantastic work. It's amazing what charities can do with £1,000, just a specific initiative. I won't go through them, but there are details on our website if you want to have a look. So, and we also have, would you believe it, 21 frameworks covering all sorts of things. So the modular buildings framework is one of 21. So we do have a lot of other frameworks if you're interested, and just have a look on our website. They're all set out there. So modular buildings launched in May, modular buildings 2. And it has 4 work streams: our permanent modular buildings, our healthcare buildings, the hire of temporary buildings, and a new one for us, the refurbished buildings, which very much fits in with our wish to be environmentally friendly and improve on our environmental sustainability. Within those work streams, we do have value bands in both the permanent modular buildings and the work stream. And the healthcare ones, 3 value bands in the permanent and 2 in the healthcare, but the others we don't have work streams in. In terms of the evaluation and the companies appointed, it was done on a 75% quality, 25% price evaluation. And we talked about general quality, as you would. Regional capability, very important. Can you deliver within the regions? There's nothing worse than us talking to a client and saying, you know, we've got all these fantastic companies on our frameworks, and then the companies say they can't actually deliver within some of the areas that we want them to deliver. And that's of particular importance in the Southwest. You know, the far Southwest is sometimes a challenge for companies. So we do pay a lot of attention to that. And we did go and do sites and factory visits, mostly in person during lockdown, but some of them we had to do by video link. But I know our technical support managers really enjoyed the opportunity to go out and visit people. And then the pricing was done on a very, I've got a much more detailed slide on the pricing and the pricing assessment. These are the companies that have pointed to the various work streams in various configurations and various setups. I would just say that MAR and Elliott's are top, and they were all value banded and ranked. So MAR and Elliott's are actually top in a number of the value bands, but we can provide you with details of that if you want. So as I say, the separate specification and scheduler rates for each work stream. If you want to see the detailed specifications, you're perfectly welcome. You can ask us for them. They are rather long documents, but obviously some of you would want to see those for comfort. And in terms of the pricing, it's done on overheads and profits, a square metre rate for the different building site types, typical construction items, and life cycle costing for standard buildings, and then a schedule of preliminary items, only standard ones, and then there are scenarios. So what this enables us to do is to, if you do want to do a direct award, and I'll talk about that in a minute, we can assess the pricing that you have been quoted in detail against the specifications that were put and pricing that was put together at the time of the tender. In terms of the services and standards, companies are all required to be able to offer a full turnkey solution. Sometimes clients don't want full turnkey, but all the companies on the framework are able to offer a full turnkey solution and have a supply chain in place to do that. And for both education and healthcare, all the standards and specifications should meet the DfE and the health authorities requirements, you know, the standard guidance documents. In terms of design life, the permanent modular building should have a design life of 60 years for the structural components. Non-structural components should have a design life of at least 20 years, allowing for normal use. And roof membranes used on modules should have a 20-year life expectancy and be covered by a third-party guarantee. So just a little bit on how projects are awarded under the frameworks. For our clients, one of the key benefits of using a framework, as well as having a pre-assessed quality suppliers on the frameworks, is that they can use the facility of direct award. And across all our frameworks, this is for all our frameworks, we find that 77% of our projects are via direct award and 32% via mini competition. In terms of the potential for modular buildings and what we have going through, this is across the country, that we have a forecast order value of projects going through our frameworks of 108 million. And actually, in terms of this framework, on the old framework, we had 158 projects going through, and on the new framework, which only started in May, we actually have 9 projects already registered going through. And as I say, there is quite a bit of interest from clients within the Southwest in the modular buildings new framework. So in terms of using our frameworks, as I say, you can either do a mini competition, i.e. a competition with all the people in the relevant value band, and do a mini tender based on your particular specifications and requirements on quality and price in percentages that you want to, or you can do a direct award. There are various criteria for direct award, either number 1 for most economically advantageous tender, or quality or price, or you can use any criteria that that you specifically want to award on, there are other criteria in our Framework Alliance contract document that is available to you. So if you do have want to use our framework, then we register the project and we issue the expression of interest to all companies if you want to do a mini competition to see if they're interested, although we would hope that there had been some conversations beforehand, because it's to discuss potential and capability and capacity. Or if it's a direct award, we will issue the expression of interest to just that company that you want to do the direct award. These are the award procedures under the Framework Alliance contract. I won't go through them, but this presentation we will be sending out to you, so you'll have it there as a reference document, and you can see it then and read it then. Just a final note from me. Obviously, we're talking about modular buildings here. And the government is working on the next stage in industrialisation, manufacturing, efficiency. And it's talking about platform design programs. So construction platform systems based on major components, very much in the same way as the car manufacturers do. So just I suppose it's a thought bit from me, you know, what's next? Are we going to be changing from modules to platform and component-based supply? And I suppose I'm asking that of our appointed companies as much as of our clients, but just a fascinating subject to think about going forward the next way in construction. And it's something that the government with its public estate have been looking at, and looking at this programme that they're doing with Construction Innovation Hub, the design programme. They're looking at what are the needs and requirements across the whole government estate, and we'll be putting in place this programme over the next 18 months. Very interesting. What they have done is assess what types of buildings and internal components are needed across their public estate, and come up with these standardised, you know, they've looked at how many corridors, how many circulation spaces, and how many living rooms and bedrooms they need, and done this piece of work. If you go on the Construction Innovation Hub, there's a whole there is a whole report on it, which is fascinating when you look at it. You know, you could standardize these, and these are some of their key findings. I suppose the one that I love is the fact that there's 104 different names for toilet spaces across the estate. But you know, a lot of these internal spaces that people are all building are the same across the whole estate. And the industry is engaging in the platform design programme, but as I say, have a look at it, have a look at how it's working, components and all the rest of it, and there's the link there. On that note, I'm going to stop and hand over to our next set of speakers. Thank you very much for your time, and as I say, if you want to talk any more, get in touch, look at our website, and we're here. And also Q&As, do put questions in the Q&A or the chat. I forgot to say that if you want to ask, we'll have time for questions at the end. Right, I'm going to stop sharing.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Simon Bannister. I'm head of design for Elliott. I'm just going to take you through a little about what Elliott do as a company, where we're going with future offerings of off-site solutions, and currently what we're doing at the present. So if we could just have the next slide, please. So a little bit about Elliott as a business. We operate all across Europe. In terms of scale, we are the largest modular provider in Europe, and we have a turnover of around 180 million in the UK over 3 divisions. So we're involved in construction, hire, rental and permanent building solutions, which probably account for around £80 million a year of our turnover. As you can see from the map, we have offices and depot facilities located throughout the UK. Our production factories are based in Cannock in Staffordshire, and Carnaby near Bridlington in East Yorkshire. Next slide, please. So we're currently owned by TDR, who are a capital venture organisation. Although some of you in the news may have heard recently about a takeover or a buyout by Brookfield Business Partnership, who are a massive assets management company and have around $600 billion worth of assets. So a massive organisation that we're now part of. We have quite a diverse portfolio, including Norwegian shopping magnates, David Lloyd, and the Stonegate Pub Company, Pizza Express, amongst others that you can see on the slide there. One brand that you may recognise is Ilke Homes. Ilke Homes is one of our sister companies, which we went into a joint venture between Keepmoat and Elliott to come up with a modular housing solution. The first prototype house was built at our assembly plant in Bridlington, and subsequently we've set up a large plant in North Yorkshire, which can deliver around 300 modular homes a year. And all that has happened within the last 3 years. Next slide, please. So Elliott worked predominantly as a main contractor, although we do partner with traditional contractors where they want some strength adding to their off-site offerings. So, you know, they would do sort of the substructure elements of the works and we would do the build on their behalf. We cover all sectors, health, education and commercial, and we work with local authorities, NHS trusts, academy trusts and large international blue chip organisations, in addition with some of the largest fast food outlets in the world. We're currently on 3 DFE frameworks, Mod A to deliver primary schools, Mod C secondaries, and most recently MMC1, which is the modern methods of construction, which combines volumetric, panelised and traditional construction, delivering education facilities and special, in particular, special education needs schools. Next slide, please. So some of the advantages of a modular approach. Obviously, factory conditions give us great control over quality and health and safety, reducing such things as working at height. Modular construction can deliver buildings in up to half the time of a traditional build. There's less disruption to local communities. For example, vehicular movements are significantly reduced. Activities on site and noise, etc., are also reduced. It can be in its simplest form, it can be the most affordable option to traditional, and especially where efficiencies of repetition and mass production can be applied. Significant savings on prelims from reduced site works and less waste materials due to pre-cutting of materials and delivery to sites being reduced. Less travelling obviously has impacts on our carbon footprint and reduces it significantly. There are, however, a couple of issues or things to be aware of when looking at a modular solution. The key one is access. So obviously we need to be sure that we can get the modules onto site. Some of the modules can be quite large, so we typically undertake a vehicle movement survey right at the outset, just to look at the feasibility of modular as an option. Design change needs to be managed very carefully. So a lot of decisions, because we are manufacturing, need to be made up front. So things such as small power and data and FF&E are something that we need to agree with the end users, at a very early stage in the construction process. Next slide, please. So UK industry issues as a construction industry as a whole. There's lots of research has been done into off-site construction. Probably the most famous was Mark Farmer's report, Modernise or Die, where it highlighted a lack of collaboration, research and innovation, which led to a poor image of the construction industry as a whole. So also that our productivity rates are way below other sectors. So if you look at other industries, they're significantly ahead of construction. In 2017, the autumn budget stated that 5 government departments were adopting presumption in favour of off-site by 2019. And as a company, we're really seeing that starting to happen now. And initially, it's been spearheaded by the DFE and their education frameworks, but there are other sectors such as health, the HIP hospitals framework, for example, are also starting to demand consideration of off-site construction methods. In addition to that, the Ministry of Defence and the Ministry of Justice are also looking at off-site manufactured cells as part of the prison estates transformation plan, currently undertaking a procurement exercise for 1,000 new cells through the CCS modular framework. So it's probably worth mentioning that in addition to the frameworks I've just listed there are many other frameworks such as the CCS, NHS, SDS and LHC, for example. So the industry is definitely getting sort of driven down the modular approach. Next slide, please. So the modern methods of construction spectrum. The Ministry for Homes, Communities and Local Governments Working Group has devised an MMC spectrum which goes from complete off-site manufacture, so sort of number 1 on the presentation there, right the way through to less manufactured, more traditional based construction, number 7 there on the slide. So currently Elliott fall within category 1, category 1 being pre-manufactured 3D structural systems, so volumetric modular whole rooms, bathrooms, etc. And right at the other end of the spectrum is a more traditional construction activities, more site-based. Next slide, please. So here are some examples of primary and secondary healthcare projects that we've completed. They all use the same modular design solution, but as you can see, they're all quite different in their shape and external appearance. So design can be varied. It doesn't have to be one size fits all. Next slide, please. So here's an example of probably one of our largest projects. It was for King's College Hospital in London, and it's a 5-storey operating theatres and ward accommodation, circa £12 million in value. It was a very tight site, and we had to work within the confines of a very busy hospital with various restrictions. Next slide, please. Next example is Pinderfields Hospital in Wakefield. It was a modular eye clinic with a project value at the time of around 4.8 million. Was completed in 32 weeks. Next slide, please. Can also apply the modular solution to nursing accommodation. This is a project we did for Peterborough Hospital. Value around 5.9 million, and we provided 126 bed nursing accommodation. Next slide, please. So, as a business, we're looking towards the future and where we can go with the modular offering. So, we've recently started work on a new collaborative project, which is called MB2. Where we're looking to build on the success of the first project we had, and looking to develop solutions such as full building envelopes with embedded safety, quality, and continue all the learning that we've taken from the previous seismic projects. And it is around developing a component solution. So, you know, potential for external manufacture of certain elements such as wall panels, roofs, toilet pods, and bringing those in and assembling those into the modules themselves. Next slide, please. So the intention of seismic is to we have standardized the grid, and we've developed, in conjunction with some of our competitors, a universal connector block. So this means that a number of modules from different manufacturers could all be fitted together. So through standardization of components, you know, we're hoping to drive down costs through economy of scale. Next slide, please. So finally, just to look at opportunities in the future and where we would like to go. We want to look at solutions from frame to envelope and beyond. And we're currently bidding for government funding for a new demonstrator project to look at the fabric of the building for standardization of the facade, floor and roof design, which is the sort of the next logical step for ourselves. We've already come up with a solution for the modular frame. So looking at the envelope is something that we really want to drive, try and get a standardized solution. So thank you very much for your time, and I will hand over to the next presenter.
Thanks, Simon. I think you can go straight on to the next one, Emily. I'll just give you a prompt every now and then, just as Emily, if that's all right. In terms of the architectural side, I think to just very quickly rattle through a few concepts, I suppose. As HLM, we've done a lot of work on modular from across other sectors, really, starting with the defence sector, doing the single living accommodation modernisation programme, which is residential, and a lot of the modular solutions that are provided through those sectors is definitely the first place to start. The move to education has really helped, because that has a lot of component parts that can be followed through to a a sensible offsite solution. I think certainly as healthcare architects, we found the biggest issue with healthcare and the modular market, both volumetric and sort of moving into the components side, is that there are so many bespoke rooms and differences in requirements. So what I'll try and touch on here is just, I suppose, a few potential examples sort of going forward where we've found that the best opportunities are for the healthcare sector. And I think, as Mary mentioned, really the government push is it's great, but it's making sure that they understand where best to push and not just to force something to be modular for the sake of it. It's using the solutions that are offered under this framework to the best advantage of the schemes, rather than being forced on high to use them necessarily. And I think one of the keys there is sustainability and the net zero carbon agenda that we all have to follow for not just healthcare but other sectors. So, next please, Emily. So these are the areas I'll look at. I'll not run through those because we do them in a little bit more detail following on, but I've tried to put them in potentially order of priority, or I suppose you could consider it ease of following the advantages of modular construction. Next please, Emily. Elderly care, I think one of the big issues we found is the ability to provide places for older patients that are unblocking beds, I suppose, within wards, and of course we know wards are one of the areas that are ideal for modular solutions. They're fairly simple in terms of the breakdown of the structure, but elderly care could be one of those crossovers that allows us to provide the skills from the accommodation residential market, but actually start to provide some support accommodation for the sort of step down is not the right word, but you know what I mean, that ability to provide a space that can help the move back to your own home effectively for elderly care. Next please, Emily. Tying that in really to the idea of a home for life, that ability to provide residential accommodation that can be adaptable enough, but that you could move in at a time when you're not really considering it being an older person's home or a care home, but it's more of the ability to provide residential accommodation that can help our health long term, and of course then help the throughput and the flows for treatment and the NHS longer term as well. Next please. One of the key areas that the government are pushing, and there is, Simon mentioned the HIP schemes, the health infrastructure, the change now to new hospitals program, but they're both tying that in with the primary care programs, and the NHS England and Improvements are looking at opportunities for a new wave of potential primary care facilities that will start to, the idea is start to close that gap between public health treatment and acute care. And working on sort of building on the progress from this is an example of lift schemes that we've been involved with, working on developing those so that you can provide a solution that allows wider community use of buildings, so it's not just about treatment, is a really good place to start for the modularization, because you've got the ability to be able to use repeatable rooms, the consult exam rooms, for example, bays and grids that Simon talked about can start to be overlaid, but without losing the need for individual site constraints and aesthetics really as well is an important part. The quality of the environment provided is so important for providing a healing environment. Next please. So each of these samples is a series of 3 whole lift schemes that we worked on, each one moving closer towards getting the standardization. So these were completed in 2008. It was the beginnings of that, looking at that ability to be able to provide health centres with that modular. And you can see the plan has still got the character of being able to provide atrium spaces and combined public health spaces, so health pods, etc., along with the requirements for having one-way movement and possible solutions for patient flows that tie in now with the sorts of things we have to look at following the recent pandemic. Next please, Emily. Moving through to the third of those, which really started to show how the advantages of modular could provide proper one-way flows, shared accommodation centrally, the ability to be able to provide either volumetric solutions that could be delivered or smaller componentized systems. And interestingly, from the seismic model that Simon's just talked about, we've been involved recently in stage 3, our OPA stage 3 report submission for an island on, for a hospital on Ascension Island, which ties in perfectly with the need to effectively deliver the whole hospital within shipping containers. So that will help to drive, I think, that model forward. Next, please. So each of the layouts, you can see that in terms of the solutions provided, you get that quality. You still maintain the key elements of light, natural light, and ability to look out, but the external environment doesn't end up looking as a modular solution. It has that ability to provide a finish that is more akin to the traditional, what would be considered traditional solutions. Next, please. I talked about the repeatable rooms. There are elements that we are pulling across from the Procure 22 program. They have a series of, I think, 13 rooms now based around A&E, inpatient accommodation and mental health. And those, the idea is that those start to form the design repeatable elements that can start to feed through to the delivery and the modularization. And that is starting to show progress within the framework itself, the Procure 22, that is open for NHS sharing. So we'll follow through to these frameworks as well. Next, please. That's just a link through. We'll send these slides out, but that'll link through to the website if anybody hasn't seen it already. Next slide, please. One of the other key areas I think we'd be looking at developing, we've been working with some third-party developers for the provision of central sterile supply departments, CSSDs, maintaining the workflows. They're fairly strict workflows, of course. They are ideal for providing potential off-site volumetric solutions that could be broken down into the most efficient sizes and quick construction. And of course, as larger acute trusts can provide a central service for across various supplied or various services and buildings. Next, please. That's just looking in a bit more detail at the layout and getting a standard minimum size and being able to then expand depending on numbers of packaging machines and autoclaves, etc. Next, please. And then finally, it's just looking at one of the sort of more bespoke areas. Of course, we know that we can get mobile diagnostic units. One of the things we're looking at with a lot of the health centres is ability to be able to plug in mobile units with the ease of access for patients, but that can also follow through then to the ability to deliver diagnostic equipment for a modularised solution. So I've just tried there to give you just a bit of an overview of, I suppose, a vision of where we know there are modular solutions already, but that the proper modular construction could be a way forward on future projects. So I think, unless Mary wants to add anything in, I'll hand straight over to Ryan from MAR.
Thank you, Neil. Hello, everybody. I'll share my screen now. Okay, can we see my screen?
I can, Ryan. It's not full size, but it's.
Okay. Is that full size now?
No, it's still your minimized
it's
one.
Still your, yes.
Okay. Okay, Laura, can you help with this?
Click enable editing, and then you'll be able to do the full screen.
Oh, okay, thank you, Mary. We did say before I might have a couple of hiccups. Apologies.
Yeah.
How's that? Is that changed now?
We can see click on display settings and just swap to It should let you swap around then. Swap, present, that's it.
Brilliant. Neil, what would I do without you? Thank you for that.
There we
That's
are.
perfect.
Hooray! Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Neil, and thank you, Mary, for the assistance there. My name's Ryan Geldard. I'm the operations director of a company called MAR, who are a contractor in the northeast of England, but we work across all of the UK. And my role within the business is that I look after the operational side of our business, right from project inquiry right through to aftercare and all the offsite and on-site operations that come with a project. So I felt quite well placed to speak to everybody today about an exciting project that we've delivered, in liaison and kind of partnership with the SWPA, and just talk you through a little bit around that project and kind of how our business is differentiating ourselves really from the modular market, more as a contractor first, as well as having a modular factory within our business. And my background really is in traditional construction. So I spent many years with a kind of a big top tier international contractor, looking at things like arenas, stadiums, hospitals indeed, over the years, using concrete, steel frames, and kind of came into the modular market with that level of experience. And indeed, our business is now made up of a number of different construction professionals and manufacturing professionals who aim to make modular a really flexible solution that works and squeezes every last drop of value out of the modular bit, while still giving clients the ultimate products that they would desire and need. And for us at MAR, then it's about kind of building a little bit better and a little bit smarter. And we think that there's ways to kind of blend all those construction technologies in that regard. So a little about our business then. So we were founded in 2007, a husband and wife team, Rob and Amanda, who some people may know in the industry, set the business up in 2007. And really the business has kind of steadily grown over that time. But in the last 3 years, we've really rocketed to a level of growth, I think, based on our strategy around delivering flexible, high quality solutions for customers, and also keeping quite a small cohort of clients and frameworks that we really want to invest into to develop our products and systems around needs, rather than maybe putting our products and forcing our products on the marketplace. But effectively, we've got a factory based just outside of Hull, quite a hotbed in the kind of East Yorkshire area of manufacturers, and indeed a number of the manufacturers on the frameworks are from that kind of neck of the woods. But what we really specialise in is design and build full turnkey solutions, and really we're gaining a real market and name for ourselves in things that are a little bit more off the wall of kind of the mass modular market. And what we'll try and do with clients is find ways to deliver a project solution that considers all the available technology. So we have projects that use 100% volumetric modular systems, and we have projects that have a little bit of modular and maybe a bit of traditional. We have some projects that are just out and out traditional projects where clients work with us and trust us to deliver out a project solution for them. The other thing kind of key to mention is that we do have a hire fleet, so we're able to offer customers, particularly where there's permanent projects attached, if there's space needed in a temporary sense, whilst the school's being refurbished and maybe we're building the permanent school, we'll provide temporary accommodation there. We'll provide accommodation in kind of interim periods for 2-3 year kind of hire periods. And again, our hire solution is quite bespoke. It's not kind of the old school battleship grey modular boxes that you tend to see in the marketplace, which obviously serve a purpose, and I'm careful to state that. But what we're trying to do is find temporary solutions with a permanent feel, and that's something that we're really kind of keen to impart on the marketplace at the moment. But we are concentrating our efforts primarily in the education and residential sectors, and indeed our current makeup is around half of our projects come from the education kind of commercial sector, and the half of our projects come from residential, building houses, whether that be apartments, bungalows, townhouses. We've got a BOPAS accredited product that all uses very similar technology and systems across all of our builds. So why we really like working with the LHC and kind of their regional departments like the SWPA is that it allows for a partnership approach. As we said, we kind of work quite selectively with frameworks and clients because we really want to invest in those relationships and partnerships. We're a business that this year is aiming to turn over £25 million, which from a few years ago is a sizable increase in kind of growth. And finding people who want to work and kind of want to be invested into is what we're really keen to do. So we do a lot of work really up front with our clients and with the frameworks to understand what matters to our clients. Why would they be looking for a solution that's maybe out of the whole plethora of options available? How can we understand the problem that people are having and how can we find a solution to deliver it? We like to work with people. You know, people in our industry say that people buy people, and we like meeting people and kind of getting really engaged within the process, and you know, creating what we call truly collaborative environments where everyone kind of puts their needs and requirements on the table, and then that's worked through as a collective rather than kind of, you know, a kind of a transaction, which seems to happen quite a lot in the construction industry, particularly from my experience previous. We're offering certainty and predictable outcomes. Predictability in the construction sector is hard to find. We all kind of know that already. So that's really important that as a business, that's one of our kind of key values, is delivering predictable project outcomes for clients. We want to find the right solution, and that has to be the best value solution. I wouldn't be lying if I said that, you know, in the last year we've turned down probably more projects than we've brought in, purely because there's maybe different technologies or a different approach that might suit the client's needs better. And we truly believe in kind of giving clients options so that they can understand what's going to work best for them. And ultimately, we're trying to deliver large community benefits, and particularly in the region of which the SWPA and you guys as clients kind of do the majority of your business within, delivering back good local community support through jobs and local investment is important to us, and particularly when questions are asked around how can we justify to our board why we're investing in product and technology that maybe is going to East Yorkshire. So how can we work really hard to deliver out those community benefits, given that a lot of the project value is staying further away than your kind of geographical boundary. So we're really excited about the MB2, and as Mary's mentioned, we scored high and the highest on our available lots, which was something that we were really proud about, and that really shows the level of investment we've made. But ultimately, you know, we want the MB2 now to work together on taking us on a journey. And here's a kind of a few select photographs of projects that have been delivered over the years with a real kind of people-focused feel. The latest kind of success is a project I'd like to talk to you about, which is called Boho 8. It's shortlisted for 2 awards with the Offsite Awards. Finalist of the year, in terms of finalists for the Commercial Project of the Year. And then we've also nominated the client, who's Middlesbrough Council, for Client of the Year, akin to how closely linked we are to those clients and that team. And it's all about sharing success as a result of the projects we deliver. For people that don't know Middlesbrough that well, Middlesbrough has a lot of regeneration ongoing within it. It's got a very forward-thinking client team. They've historically had high levels of unemployment as industry moved out of the area. And they've been kind of quite pioneering in the north of England to try to find ways that they can not only receive external investment, but kind of back themselves to regenerate parts of industrial areas. And this project is the latest of those iterations. And if you went to Middlesbrough today, what you'd now see is a thriving area where people not only live and work, but kind of enjoy and have a glass of wine in an area that 15, 20 years ago was just a barren wasteland. And that was something that was a really important message that we wanted to work through. And Middlesbrough and Faithful and Gould, their advisors, were looking for companies that had that understanding, who could take that challenge and really run with it. And they went to the CPC, the sister company of the SWPA, to try and find people who could work within those requirements. Now, this project is a £2.5 million project. People talk about modular as if it's a really rigid thing, and of course there are people in the marketplace who deliver a very good and consistent and standard product, and that's all they do, and that's all they want to do, and that makes money for them in their regard. We look at life through that slightly different lens. It's incredibly flexible in its design and construction solution, which we'll show you. Architecturally, you know, it is excellent, and we work really closely with the client team at Middlesbrough to make sure that the project that was brought forward retained, even though it had budget challenges, it retained its architectural excellence, and we'll kind of talk you through that as we go through the kind of photographs. It began last summer, August 2020. 8 weeks later, we delivered the 18 modules that were installed just over 5 days. It achieves a high EPC rating because with it being a public building, they are so forward thinking in terms of carbon neutral that we worked really hard with them to secure a high EPC rating. And we completed it in April 2021, so only 33 weeks in the middle of a pandemic, and with a project that, as you'll see, had quite a lot of technical challenges with respect to the groundworks and remediation that needs to be done on the site as well. As we mentioned, they've now been nominated for awards. So this for us, as next slide, kind of really focuses in on what can be achieved using a modular and volumetric solution. All these modules were manufactured within our facility over a kind of a shorter period. The ground was developed, it needed stabilising and regenerating. It was an old industrial area that had a lot of contamination that needed to be dealt with. We came up with a really innovative solution as to how we could manage that contamination on site rather than just digging up mountains of muck and sending it away on wagons. Super kind of engineered as well to be able to create this these V kind of steel columns to deliver the structural support. High quality office space, all delivered within a factory environment and completed on site. As we mentioned, kind of working with the local community, and particularly the key stakeholders, has been important. And this is Andy Preston, the Middlesbrough mayor, very forward-thinking mayor who kind of has been actively involved in the scheme with us. The big kind of thing from the client there is that the area has been regenerated by a number of different construction technologies and contractors, and we were the last people to start in what was a small pocket. Indeed, to the right-hand side, there's a traditional build which started some 6 months before we actually physically started on site, and we were finished sooner. And those office spaces are rented out for the council, which ultimately goes back into the public purse. So by finishing the job sooner, delivering such a high quality office environment, they've all been snapped up now within the matter of weeks, and there's new businesses that have started working in those areas too. And what was really good is the community that was built around that project through what was difficult times last summer. Michael from Middlesbrough Council, made comments around the speedy delivery and the certainty around offsite construction being really important. Brexit and kind of the lockdowns and COVID pandemic were a big risk for the project that we worked hard to deliver out on, and the technology surely helped. As we've said, the traditional contracts that are kind of adjacent took a little bit longer, and the council then, for a council that's had limited experience with offsite technology, they are now starting to actively seek out modern methods of construction, and particularly modular schemes, in their environment. And as you say, the last kind of line in that is, would be better suited to deliver the council's ambitions. So not only is this just talked around, as my colleagues on the webinar have said earlier, in terms of government departments and white papers, people are now starting to really see the benefits in reality. And that makes something that I'm personally really proud of. The project in the background here is a project that we're working on with London Borough of Newham. As we've said before, for us, modular is not about kind of just boxes. This has got, high quality claddings, high quality kind of solar shading within the buildings. And again, our aim is to make sure that as you look at that project and you walk around our buildings, you just wouldn't know it was manufactured, in Yorkshire and kind of transported down. So we've got plenty of work ongoing within the London boroughs, particularly areas that have actual logistic issues. We work hard with our clients to unpick those risks at the start before we start designing. And again, all these are coming through this MB2 pipeline and have been delivered. ultimately, what we're trying to do is offer a really refreshing approach to not only construction, but to kind of the modular world as well. And I was so pleased when we were appointed as the kind of top of the group on the MB2, purely because, as Mary has mentioned, we are talking about a highly weighted on quality framework, and for that to stand out and deliver what it's done was really testament not only to kind of our team, but to the framework as well. We have the ability for people to direct award within the framework as well, which we'd love to get involved with the clients who want that early engagement and want to be helped through the process of understanding how far their budgets can go and what challenges need to be overcome. But ultimately, what we really want to do is build good quality relationships with good people in the marketplace, and we would absolutely love to introduce some of you to some of our projects. And you never know, if times permit, we are back open for factory visits too. And I guess I'll stop there for any question and answers that I'm sure Mary will allow us to talk through.
Yeah, thank you very much to Simon, Neil and Ryan for your presentations. I'm not seeing any questions yet in the chat or in the Q&A, so maybe you've answered everything, or maybe people are keeping their powder dry. Just to say that I think Ryan mentioned we do have two frameworks, and this is for our non-residential framework. MB2 is our non-residential one. We do have a residential one called the Offsite Construction of New Homes, which actually MAR are on as well. So there we are, another plug for MAR. And Ilka Homes, part of the Elliott group, are also on that. So you've got the link up there. You know, it's a small but diverse market going through. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions for our speakers on any of their current projects or future requirements or clarifications. Neil's put his hand up to say something. Yes, you say something, Neil. Yeah.
I was just going to say it's probably worth mentioning. I touched on the primary care program that the NHS England and Innovation are moving forward with. Now it's not, I think it's being discussed initially with some of the acute trusts, but the idea is that it's provides, it's called the Cavell Centres, and it provides a new way of thinking. And one of the 6 pioneers that are being developed at the moment is in Plymouth, and we're working on one in southwest London. So the opportunities there in terms of the modular, as I said, for healthcare, sometimes it's quite tricky because of the bespoke nature of a lot of the services we look at. But the government push is starting to look at the more sensible end of the modular solutions as a starting point. But a lot of the lessons learned have come through some of the other sectors. So it's that ability to be able to use the experience of the framework to then start to feed into what is a fairly new market, really, other than the as I say, delivery of things like ward blocks, temporary ward blocks, winter pressures types solutions, which were seen more as a temporary solution. This is very much more thinking in terms of long-term solutions.
Thank you. Well, and now Ryan wants to say a word.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on Neil's about data and about how borrowing kind of from different market sectors is so important. And I think that's where clients are really, I don't know whether you agree, Neil, starting to see a lot of benefit, particularly with kind of MMC around what works as a solution, what maybe doesn't. And that's now not just coming from theory, but it's coming from actual delivery. And I'm sure the work that Neil's team are doing, particularly in kind of healthcare, and what our team are doing in kind of different market sectors, there's probably so many lessons that can be brought from either kind of sides of that. And I think that's where the government has shown quite good leadership, really, in terms of trying to get as many government bodies, in favour of offsite, as Simon said earlier, and where frameworks like yours, Mary, allow to bring those minds together and allow to drive some value for clients where they're a little bit unsure.
Okay, well, it's 12 o'clock now, so we've just finished our allotted time. Yes, no questions, but if you do have questions or you want to speak to the guys from MAR and Elliott's, we can give you their contact details. We will be sending out a follow-up email probably with links to the presentations, because they'll all be rather big, and they will be on our YouTube channel. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending, and we hope and look forward to catching up with you again. And to any of the other, and give us some good picks of modular projects, I think, rather than the traditional site accommodation ones, because I think that's what we need. We need to move the mindset on and show that modular is not just site huts, or in my day it was temporary classroom huts. So thanks very much for your time, everybody, and catch up soon. Yeah,
Thanks,
hopefully
Mary.
come on some factory visits.
Hopefully so. See you soon. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Emily.
Bye-bye. Bye.